Hey, everybody. God bless you all, each and everyone who's listening today. I'm sitting here with Brady,
Hey, what's up, everybody?
and it is in January.
January 10th.
Yep. And we are on the second Sunday of Epiphany coming up. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, last night as I was in bed, sitting down praying before I fell asleep,
Wait, you pray?
more often than you know, um, I was contemplating tonight's show, and I thought that maybe one of the things that came to mind is how we've talked before. You know how the church's calendar is for us. How every year we go through the life of
Right. You
Christ.
got you got a like a 5-year plan.
3 year.
Same thing.
No, that's 2 years shorter than five.
Like my church, I think it has like a 6-month plan. I don't know.
No,
No,
you don't have 6 months.
they got a whole year planned out.
Yeah, a year
Yeah.
of what?
I don't know. I'm
You
not in the
see,
leadership team.
yeah, you don't know. Okay, so anyway, folks, the liturgical churches have what's called a liturgical calendar, and every year we go through the story of the life of Christ according to a different gospel: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And John is every year, and then in 3 years you would have listened
To the gospel.
no to the entire Bible in 3 years just by going to church on Sundays. Why are you rolling your
I'm
eyes?
trying to think. It's just the gospels you mentioned. So I guess you do more than just the
No, no,
gospel.
no, no. We do the life of Jesus
Yeah.
according to a gospel every year
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
because Matthew, Mark, and Luke are all similar.
Correct.
So we cover one each year.
Right.
And then we do John every year.
Because he's love.
He's a different type of gospel.
And what is love?
Okay. And we go through the Old Testament, New Testament, a psalm. We go through this, and then the gospel.
Right.
So we have 4 scripture readings every Sunday. And then in 3 years, we go through the whole gospel or through the whole Bible.
Y'all are overachievers.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're Christians. Our number is 757 488 5299. That's 488 5299 for your prayers, for your calls,
Whatever
for
you want
your
to talk
topics.
about. Yeah.
So I thought I'd let you know what each Sunday was coming up because, well, it might just be different for a number of you. So we're starting the second Sunday of Epiphany. First Sunday was last week. Epiphany is the baptism of the Lord. So we celebrate the baptism of the Lord by recounting the early part of Jesus' ministry. So in the second Sunday of Epiphany, we'll be reading through 1 Samuel 3, and that's when the Lord calls Samuel. And then we will read Psalm 63, and then my favorite, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 20, which we are fleeing sexual immorality, which I thought about talking a little bit about today. But the gospel, we cover John, and Jesus calls Philip and Nathaniel, John 1, 43 through 51. Now, for those of you who are interested, you can easily go online and you can look at a lectionary. So we are in what's called the common time, ordinary time, where we're talking about the life of Christ in general. Coming up to seasons or holidays, which would be Christmas and Easter, of course. But right now we're in Epiphany, and we will be in Epiphany until we hit Ash Wednesday, which kicks off Lent in February. So, if you have any questions about any of that, give me a call. Each week, I'm going to kind of let you know what's coming up on the lectionary. If you have any questions about those scriptures, give us a call. Our number is 757 488 5299. That's 757 488 5299. News from the Five Loaves Food Pantry, we are busy. We're seeing an average of 60 to 80 families a day
Woo.
in the 2 hours that we're open.
It's a lot of families, a lot of people getting hungry.
Yeah. We did have to close last night due to the weather.
Well, that was a
Um,
pretty heavy storm.
We actually didn't get it on our side that I'm aware of.
I lost power for like 9 hours.
Yeah, I heard a lot of it did hit this
Station.
side.
Station here got wrecked.
Yeah.
We're still having issues.
Oh, wow. Well, I know that on our side it wasn't that bad. But folks, I'm sorry. When we're open, we always have people in wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and they do not think of themselves when the weather's bad.
No, of course not. That's why you close for them. They just
Yeah.
want, they need to. Well, I mean, I get it to a point. They're hungry. They need the food, and in their mind they'll get a little wet to eat.
They
don't
should
think-
be
they don't-
able to carry it past. I mean, we're open 5 days a week. You
I
can get it the next day.
Yeah,
But it is standard.
but
When-
Tuesday's been your staple since the day you opened.
Tuesday night has been. But we're not doing the hot meals.
I
But
missed those.
when the schools are closed for weather, we do close.
Right.
And yesterday, Newport News schools closed early.
Yeah. 2
So
hours.
and another reason for that is you got to think about your volunteers.
Facts.
When your volunteers have to go home early because the kids are home early, you just have to do that.
True story.
And donations are down,
Well,
but not. Our donations from the stores are down, but our private donations, folks, are up.
that's good.
And God is blessing us. He is truly, truly blessing us. I've had a number of conversations this week with people, and they ask, how do we get donations? How do people donate cash if they want to donate cash? And when do we hold fundraisers, etc.? And I don't. I have always felt, since I've been running this program since 2009, that it is God's ministry. I'm merely the current caretaker. And because it's that, and I truly believe it is God's, that God will see fit that we have everything that we need to do his ministry. It is his ministry. So we don't hold fundraisers. The only one that I've ever done is when churches come up and they would like to help us in some way. And so we've done a 5 for 5 loaves, $5 for 5 loaves.
I've done those with you a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
A couple different churches.
some churches, the people will give 50. Occasionally they give more than that. But we want it to be a way where everybody can contribute if they'd like to contribute, and don't feel bad when they were only contributing the widow's mite, the 2 pence.
Right.
So $5 for 5 loaves we've done. But we are getting a lot of canned donations in from a lot of individuals,
Oh, my campaign's working good.
organizations. What campaign?
You know, I mean, am I allowed to say it? They might be listening. You know, whenever people do canned
Food
food
drives.
drives for certain organizations,
Yeah.
I'll nicely remind them that free donation of food they raised to give to
Oh,
the
yeah.
said location turns around and
Well,
gets sold. So instead, give it to a food
I
pantry.
can tell you
My-
that the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank has extended no membership, or excuse me, no shared maintenance fee for a while.
Oh, that's good.
It's been going on for a while, and I give credit to them. I don't know what's changed. I also know that we've been getting a lot of fresh produce from them as well.
Yeah,
So they've done something good, and I pray that they do keep doing well. USDA this month, or actually this week, was bigger than I've ever seen it before. But it's also a new year.
saying a lot.
Yeah. So I do want to give a great shout out to God. We start our prayers every morning and let people know that we should be thankful. Everything that we have today is more than what we had yesterday. And that is due to God taking care of us. For those of you who are looking for a place to reside, we are in the middle of receiving applications for our residential internship. That would be for anyone. Primarily, the best people are coming out of high school or college, that have no place else to go right now. They're coming out of high school, coming out of college. They don't have a job yet. They're looking for jobs. They're debating whether to go to school, lengthen their school. We offer free room and board in a small stipend in exchange for labor at the food pantry. So they learn how to run $1 million business on $40,000, which is full of prayer. So we teach how to pray, how to minister to people, how to deal with tragedy and life's tragedy. There's a lot that goes on at the pantry, more than just giving food.
Didn't offer me no money.
What money?
I'm saying you didn't offer me no money when you were. No,
When were you in the internship?
I wasn't. I was
Okay,
I
well,
was just there all the time. You didn't have an internship program when I was there.
no, we didn't. Now we do.
Frady was there
So-
every day.
And were you volunteering or not?
Everybody's a volunteer in your eyes.
That's right.
Now you want to pay somebody.
No, we're not paying anyone. That's somebody else who's offering them a stipend to help them out with shampoo, laundry detergent, etc.
Can I get $1?
Sure, you can get a call. I have no idea, folks, what's going on with Frady.
I'm just saying.
All I got to tell you is that
Years,
Frady's
every
got
day.
something up his craw right now.
Not at all. We're
You've
listening.
got a topic.
I mean, sure, but we're
Okay.
talking about the food pantry.
Well, I'm just giving everybody an update. By the way, our number is 757-488-5299. 757-488-5299. I just want to encourage everybody. You should be giving time, not your tithe, but offerings. And when you are giving to other organizations, you always want to check and find out where your money is going. There are a number of organizations that have mighty, mighty reputations because they have major commercial campaigns, but those commercials cost money. And that's why we don't do fund drives. I don't want to spend what money I get on trying to raise more money, which just seems counterproductive to me.
I've always didn't understand that part. Yeah, like I'm not knocking anybody, but I've seen some of these places. Like you looked at some of their books, and they've spent millions of dollars on fundraising. I'm like, what?
Well,
Huh?
and that's because they
Huh?
are not volunteer operated. So you've got to, you got to be current in what you pay people. So that's why we don't. My volunteers, I love them to death. We have a lot of core volunteers.
You know my feelings on that.
What?
I mean, just anybody who's a nonprofit, if your payroll is more than you're giving, you're doing it wrong. I don't care what you are, church, a nonprofit, doesn't matter. I've told churches this. You've heard me. I've literally told elders and staff, if you spend more money on payroll than your yearly missions or giving, shut the church down. You're doing it wrong. It's not a church anymore.
There you go, friends. Our number is 757-488-5299. And folks, that goes for your church too.
That's what I'm saying. Church.
When was the last time you looked at your church's books? And if you cannot see a copy of your church's books,
all nonprofits have to give a copy of their numbers. It's required by law.
But
if they're a nonprofit,
yeah, but you can file a 990, and all that does is 3 digits or 3 numbers.
That's true story.
Okay, and the thing is,
then you're hiding something. I want to know what you're hiding.
Well, I have gone through books before, and let's put it this way. A lot of people hide things. I'll give you an example. There's an organization that's very prominent, and when you look at their books, because you want to find out what their administrative costs are, their administrative costs are very, very minimal. And you're like, oh, well, I thought they had so many employees. Well, that's because their operation expenses are buried within the programs, and rightfully so, because some of these programs do pay for labor and it needs to come out of that program. So when you really want to get right down to it, when you add up all the operation expenses, it can be pretty large for a lot of corporations. And I think everyone needs to be taken on a case by case basis, but your church should have their books open to you, not with the names of people who are tithing.
Oh no, that should be private. What would I give my church?
But
What would I give my God?
yeah, but what money is coming in? I mean, I come from a church that every Sunday on our bulletin tells us how much we collected last month, what our projected bills are this month, what our overage or shortage is, and what we need to do about it. And every year we get a budget. And our vestry, our elder board, votes on that budget, and we stick to it. And it needs to be, and I think that all churches need to be that way, including and not limited to our mega churches. I think it's very, very interesting. In fact, the first show that Joe Daniel and I
Oh, I
did
remember.
on this picking up the habit was with regards to a church's budget. The amount of money that they were paying their full-time organist, their full-time pianist, their full-time music minister. Joe Daniel was just absolutely
Floored. I remember.
positively
Totally upset.
Didn't
the organist make more than he did?
The organist was in the 70s.
Yeah, like the organist made like significantly more than he did, and which is what it is. But yeah,
I mean, and their
you're just
lead
playing-
pastor was making 6 digits.
that's
Well, but see, again,
no.
if you're requiring your lead pastor to have a PhD,
nope.
somebody's got to pay for it.
That look, you can pay for schooling. That's fine. Pay for schooling. You give him $1 million a year. Come on.
No, not $1 million.
You said 100,000. Okay.
100,000.
All right, still,
Yeah.
I can't.
I mean, none of us are
Look, I want to make
President Gay making 900,000 a year.
Look, I don't know. It's we're gonna.
I know.
What do y'all think? Give us a
it's
call,
out there.
757-488-5299. Do you think pastors should make $100,000 plus? I have a hard time with it.
I think it depends upon your size of church as well
I don't
and
think it
your
should matter.
responsibilities.
What do you need?
See, this is where you and I, and I'm going to get 2 different ways on this.
I'm not against making money. This isn't a you should not make money. It's not okay to make money. I have no issues with Christians making money and Christians having stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, oh, you
Okay.
should give it all to the homeless. Like, but like, I don't know. I look at the Bible, how he told the rich man he's got to give it all away. So my question is maybe I'm wrongfully holding pastors to a different. I'm not saying don't support your family. I'm not saying take your things, but like, why do you need $100,000 a year? How much of that are you giving away? How much are you helping? How much?
Well, one, how many kids do they have?
Oh, here it goes.
Okay. 2, how many services do they do during a week? 3, what hours is your pastor available? Is he available 24/7, 365? Or is he just available 4 days a week in one Sunday service?
But still $100,000. I mean, is your needs to the point where you need $100,000 regardless of all that?
Well, think about it this way. What about retirement? Most of your churches are not invested in retirement plans. So how is your pastor supposed to be getting in on retirement so he can retire?
Medicaid like everybody else.
That's would be Medicare,
sorry.
not Medicaid.
I mean, everyone else, same people are making $100,000 a year their whole life.
But
Anyway, we got Thomas.
what about a place to live?
Right.
When you're in 70s, you can't go to Medicare.
So how are you? We'll talk about that after Tom. We got Thomas on the line. Thomas, what do you have to add to the conversation?
You guys are killing me.
Well, please don't. Drive careful.
When we're talking about our pastors and how much money they make. We have to be very careful because, God rewards each one of us according to his will. And unless we know the mind of the Lord in that matter, we need to be careful because God wants to bless our pastors just as much as he wants to bless us. And if we want to be poor, if we want to take a vow of poverty, we can do that. But I tried being poor when I was a young Christian, and it caused me so many problems that I was unable to deal with. And so, I've learned to relax and let God bless me as he chooses and give back to him. And I think our pastors are doing that. And so this is a very important subject, but we have to be careful not to intrude on what God's doing.
So what would you say is an average income for pastors?
Well, I have no idea, but I do know that it does appear that many of them in many of the churches are in fact on a money train, and that's a terrible witness. But other than that, I don't know.
All right. Well, do you have anything?
No,
to say,
I
Freddie?
mean, I get what he's saying. I do. Here's my worry is that it starts to get greed. Like the more you make, the more you want to make, and it's just. I'm not saying you're right. I agree with you, Thomas. We should bless our pastors. They have a job more than any. I think, like you said, they hear things, they see things, they know things. They gotta deal with the congregation and I get all that. So yes, we should definitely bless our pastors. I just worry when you start to get to a certain point where it's just, I don't know, maybe it's my lack of being able to ever have that much money, so I can't think of it. But I but I get what you're saying.
All right. Well, thanks, Thomas. I appreciate your input.
Okay.
All
Have a
right.
good week.
Folks, our number 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299.
I want to hear more opinions. I mean,
well, what is your pastor making? Do you know?
I have no idea. I've not asked that question.
Well, you shouldn't have to ask. It should be in your budget.
I mean, there's an annual report. Our church has an
It,
annual
sh-
report. Right.
it should be in your annual
Yeah,
report.
I haven't. On my old church, I could tell you.
Okay, so what would, don't mention the church, but what was
I mean, I think about 70.
Okay.
And I had no issue with, but I also knew that pastor. I knew his heart. No, and I'm not saying, please no. I'm not saying. Look,
I keep hearing a lot of apologies every
'cause
time
I don't want
you're
people- I don't-
saying something.
I don't want
you
people to
then
think I'm bashing.
apologize
I don't want people
for
to think I'm bashing pastors by saying that, saying I don't want people to. I don't want to make assumptions like I'm saying pastors who make money or people who want to make money in a ministry role are wrong. I'm not saying that. I want to make sure there's no greed. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, money, unfortunately, at this point in life is just the part of life. We have to make money.
So what would you say should be an average salary for a pastor?
Whatever it is, enough to take care of their the church should take care of their fundamental needs.
So if a pastor has a larger family, they should make more, whereas a pastor who doesn't have as much as a large family,
that's a hard
should
question,
make
but
less?
kind of, yes.
So a pastor who's practicing responsible birth control makes less.
Well, they don't. What do they need the money for? Like, why? What do you?
Retirement.
Okay, yeah, I'm not saying don't get taken care of, but my next question, it's like that's people's giving. So like, pastors get paid based off of their flocks giving. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, they should be making sure that they are not taking advantage of that. I'm not saying any pastor is. I don't know these pastors. The pastors I know, I've ever met, I've never once thought they were taking care of their flock.
So you're saying that the amount of revenue the pastor makes should be based upon the number of people in his pews?
Negative.
Well, you just said.
No, I did not. I said I don't want them to take advantage. I don't want people to take advantage of the flu.
Well, how do you judge whether a pastor's doing a good job or not?
Oh, the numbers are not. Numbers should never be what you.
Okay, so what do you use to measure a pastor's production? His if he's a good pastor or not?
People
What do
are,
you measure?
as long as he's feeding people properly, people are finding God. Regardless if it's 3 people in your congregation or 3,000 people in your congregation, as long as you are.
Well, if you've got 3 people and they found God, how's he going to find any more without bringing more people in?
I mean, that's the whole point. You have
so a church has to be growing,
right? A church should be growing, but I'm not going to say that.
So how far does a church grow?
I can't answer
before it's too big.
I don't know. As long as that church is still preaching I'm one like even mega churches. Unfortunately, like I know how you feel about but even mega churches, if the church is I'm trying to find a way to word this part. Not that I'm trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to find the words. As long as the pastor and the leadership and everyone involved is truly preaching the word of God, and they're truly wanting to bring in more people, to convert more people to help their salvation, I don't care how big that church is. They could be a mega church with 1 million people as long as they're doing it properly. They're preaching the word of God. They are bringing people to salvation. They are baptizing people. They are saving souls.
Okay. So I'm hearing 4 qualifications so far: bringing people to God.
Yep.
Baptizing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you repeated a couple of these.
Sure, that's what I do.
So baptizing, okay, leading people to God.
Yep.
Baptisms.
Sure, yeah.
And growth.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, just bring people to God, right? You need to bring more people to God, correct?
Right. Well, that's leading people to God, baptisms, and then growth. I'm saying growth by they're getting stronger Christians throughout life.
Right.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of the top of my head right this second. I'm sure there is.
Okay, so it doesn't matter to you if a church has missions.
No, of course they have.
Well, you didn't put that. Well, that's why I'm asking.
That should not be. That's a different in my
mission should not be included in a pastor's salary.
Why would missions be included in a pastor's salary?
Because he's leading people to God, baptizing, and helping Christians in other places grow.
Okay, what does that do with missions? Are important. I've already said at the beginning of the show, if you have more on payroll than you giving to missions, you're doing it wrong.
But I'm asking, do you judge your pastors' production based upon the amount of missions work?
Yes.
Okay, so you would now throw his missions.
Well, I'm not judging the pastor. I'm the church in general.
His payroll. We're saying, how do you determine who is a good pastor and who is not?
Anybody who's preaching the word of God, in my mind, is a good pastor.
Anybody. So they don't have to do mission work.
No, they should do mission work. We're told to do mission work.
I'm asking you then if that's part of a condition of being a good pastor.
Sure, I guess. I think that as long as the church is doing it, that would show the leadership of the pastor. Like there should be a missions department. Doesn't mean the pastor needs to run it.
He's the leader of the church.
No, the elders are the leaders of the church.
Don't elders hire the pastor to
be
the shepherd?
The elders should hire, in my opinion, I could be wrong, and if I am, someone please give us a call, 757-488-5299. I'm not apologizing. If I'm wrong, educate me. It's a difference. But elders run the church, or deacons, however your church is run. Your board, the senior men of the church should run your church, your tribes. Pastor is a good respect. They are to teach the word.
Who puts the budget together at the church you go to?
At my church?
Any of them.
It should be
not should be. Who puts the budget together?
The elders, the senior men.
I've never met any elder who's put together a budget.
That's how we did it at Crafton.
I've known pastors to put together budgets and then give it to your leadership to approve.
I mean, yes, they come together with it, and they right. They do the overall work because they're the staff. The pastor meets at least that I've seen, the pastor meets with the different heads, comes with the budget for the year, and then you get approval. But ultimately, it's up to your elders. They make
just to pass it, not to.
No, they should know what's going on. They should ask questions.
Of course it's there, but what I'm saying is all they're passing it. If they deny it, then it goes back to the pastor to restructure and then come back again.
Or whoever's in charge, right? Usually it's the pastor, correct?
Okay.
The heads.
Now, your leadership is judging every year your pastor should go under a review.
Probably right, yeah.
He's an employee. He needs to go under a review. If he's doing something wrong, he deserves to know what he needs to improve upon.
Okay, I can go with that.
If he's doing things right, he deserves to know what he's doing right.
I can go with that.
Okay. So we're looking at leading people to Christ, baptisms, and personal growth.
See, I'm not looking at personal growth like that.
What do you call strengthening life?
Strengthening, right? Strengthening.
That's what I'm calling personal growth.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, like if Frady is in a church and he's a new Christian, as an elder, I would hope they would hold my pastors to like.
If
is
Frady is an elder, he should still be growing in his
course he
Christian
should.
walk
And
every
that's-
week.
of course he
That's what
should.
I'm calling
Okay,
personal
gotcha.
growth.
All right, that works. Yep, cool.
Okay.
We're on the same page then.
All right. So those three things, you're not including mission work. You're not including, and mission work, I'm talking both local, national, and
Mhm.
overseas.
Correct.
Okay. You're not looking at mission work. Yet the senior pastor puts the budget together. So in my mind, yes.
See, I would not
He's doing the budget with his staff. The
right, but they
mission
should
team
have
is under him.
You should have a missions department. So you have a missions director or someone who
and
runs
he
them,
controls it.
and then he makes it up. Right. They talk about it.
Right.
Correct.
So the pastor drives mission work.
I wouldn't say he drives it. He should know what's going on. Like at Grafton, we have a missions director.
Please.
Sorry,
I
not
don't
Grafton.
want to call.
I'm not. That's my old church. At my
people
current
out.
church, I'm not calling on that. I'm saying like at my current church, we have a missions director. His job is to run all of our missions. That's his job. I'm sure our head pastors know. I know for a fact our head pastors know what's going on.
And so he drives what's happening with the mission team, because that guy doesn't have approval to do whatever he wants. He's got to get it cleared by the pastor.
I can't say yes or no. I don't know.
Okay, but that's the way most work. Okay.
See,
so how do you
in my mind, a good
determine-
pastor? I could tell you when I was on staff, as long as I wasn't doing anything wrong, I was not getting micromanaged. I was able to run my department as I saw fit, as long as I wasn't doing anything unbiblical. I would fill in.
You got to pick whatever songs you wanted to do. He never had a comment on that.
I mean, when we talked and I told him what I was doing,
Well,
he
see,
might make
that's
sense.
where he's
Right, but he's not. It wasn't
involved.
right. Just when I talked to him, he would not come to me on a daily or weekly basis.
Okay, well, let me look at this from a different perspective.
Sure, that's what we're doing.
If a pastor has a team of 5,
right,
versus a team of 50.
I mean, they got to do more work. But they're probably a smaller congregation at that point. They don't have as much to do.
Who, at 5 or 50?
The 5.
So a pastor that has 50 should be getting paid much more than a pastor of 5.
I didn't say that.
I'm managing 50 people, not 5.
Okay,
I'm managing
from a
10 different departments.
From a see, you could be wrong. That's a secular approach. I'm managing 50 people over 5. I should get paid more. I'm managing a bigger church. That's a secular approach, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion. That's a worldly secular view, a business transaction. And while yes, a church nowadays has to be a business because you got to run it like a business because of money and all that, the church is supposed to be held to a different standards. So in my opinion, Pastor A or Pastor B, as long as they're doing the same job and it's running fine, just because they're bigger, they don't just get more money because they're bigger.
757-488-5299.
As long as they're meeting their needs, the church should take care of their needs, all their needs. I agree with that, but doesn't mean they get more money just because the church is bigger. If the needs are not bigger, as long as the needs are being met for both pastors, it doesn't matter what the size of the church should be, in my personal opinion.
You've never been a pastor.
You're right. I want to be. Well, I mean, I want to do ministry.
Well, because if you've got a pastor of 50, he's going to be doing a heck of a lot more 24/7, 365. You got a church of 20, there ain't that many people dying, calling you in the middle of the night in the hospital.
The church that big probably has additional pastors to help you.
It doesn't matter. You're still getting called.
Sure.
So he's working a heck of a lot harder for a bigger church.
It's a calling of God, though.
Of course, hopefully any Christian is doing a calling of God, whether he's a pastor, whether he's an accountant, whether he's a builder, all of those are valid callings. Being a pastor is not a glorious, better calling of God than any other.
I'm not saying it. Well,
yes, you are. And unfortunately, that is what is getting the churches in trouble.
How are they getting the church in trouble?
Because there are people being made pastors who were not called to be pastors.
Well, that's a whole different problem.
But they're going to be a pastor because they think they need to be a pastor to be a better Christian.
Well, that's a whole different subject.
But no, it isn't.
We're talking about money now.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The guy who's managing 50 people is working a shepherd that has 100 sheep versus a shepherd that has 10 sheep.
And,
They work different amounts.
and shepherds back in the day didn't get paid.
Frady, now
I'm
I'm getting aggravated.
don't get out.
Okay. You can't compare sheep and shepherds money wise.
You just brought it up.
Yes, because I'm not talking about Middle Ages. I'm talking about current time. Oh, we are overtime, folks. Our number is 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. You got to call us. We are the Lighthouse here at WPMH. Hey, everybody, this is Brother Tim. I'm sitting here with my main man, Frady.
What's up, everybody?
757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. I need to give a shout out to Hartman Dentistry. You know, we should call her Dr. Vanessa.
Sure, yeah.
We should ask her if she makes more
She's
because she's a PhD of
but
dentistry.
she's a private business. She's a
Oh,
private
Frady, would you let me phrase
Yes, sir.
first?
Yes, sir.
Does she make more because she's a PhD of dentistry versus a dentist
Of course she
who
does.
is just a DDS? She may not, because she's working as a dentist. She's not working as a PhD of dentistry.
That's a good question then. Yeah.
So I'm just curious. Our number is 757-488-5299. But Dr. Vanessa Hartman is a PhD of dentistry. She was a professor of dentistry at a university, and she was also a research professor of dentistry. And some of her research has been written up in American Journal of Medicine. And the reason why I mention that, folks, is, I mean, who would you rather have? Somebody just coming out of dental school, somebody that's been exposed and out of dentistry for a while, or an instructor of dentistry who would need to keep up with all the latest techniques, who may have created some of the newer techniques? Because that's Dr. Vanessa. I got to tell you, when I got there 3-4 years ago, let's see, COVID was 2 years ago, 3 years,
Almost 4 now.
5 years.
Almost 4 now. Yeah, March of 2020. It's like
Yeah.
we're almost 4 years and
Okay,
just started
so
COVID.
5 or 6 years ago when I went back there, Dr. Vanessa was doing dentures. You could go in and get them. See, I have to be careful how I say that, because there's a lot of places out there that are using copyrights for getting your dentures in a 24-hour period is one. And then there's other people that are calling them when you go in at one point, you get them later in that day, that he's also copywritten his phrase. So, but if you go to Dr. Vanessa, she was doing that over 10 years ago, because she was doing them on site. And as a PhD of dentistry, she was able to bring in people to get certified. And she does have a lab on site. So you can go in, be evaluated, and then come in one morning, have your teeth all worked on that you're going to keep, those removed that need to be removed, and then walk out that afternoon with a brand new set of teeth, a brand new grill, a brand new smile. And that's what's important about going to a dentist. So I've got to ask people who are listening to this show, when was the last time you smiled? I got an even better one. How many of you were like me?
Oh yeah, you look so much better.
Avoided getting pictures taken because you didn't like the way you look in the pictures
I'm smiling on the camera.
with your mouth closed. Now it's open. Anyway, folks, if you want to get your teeth taken care of, you need to see Dr. Hartman. Now, let me tell you, I'm being told some of you are doing this. They are booked out months in advance. But if you call them and tell them you've been listening to Picking Up the Habit, they will put you on the list in the next available slot that opens. They will call you first to try and get you in as soon as you can get in. Their number is 757-873-3407. That's 757-873-3407. Call them, tell them that you want to be on the list that you heard about on Picking Up the Habit. Now, what that means, if somebody calls tomorrow and cancels, you're going to get a call tomorrow and say, hey, do you want to come in at this time and get taken care of? And don't forget, they also have financing available if you need it. Their number again is 757-873-3407. That's Hartman Dentistry, Dr. Vanessa Hartman.
All right, we got about 16 minutes left in the show. We've been talking about a very looks like sensitive topic.
No, not sensitive.
We were for those who just joined us, we ended up talking about salaries and came on to pastor salaries. And the question that Tim drew, so give us a call, 757-488-5299. How much do you think pastors should get paid? Do you?
Now, I'm seeing something online that said it's talking about the budget.
Right.
Half, 40 to 50% of the budget
for a church
should be on staff.
I'm sorry. I'm not calling anyone out. It's none of I've been on staff for a church. I did not get paid. That's my personal decision. I was an intern. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I think it's going to depend upon a number of factors. First of all, I'll give you an example. Musicians.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got musicians that went and got their masters and that's their sole job, they need to be paid worthy of a master's degree in music. And this is why the lady that was, when Joe Daniel and I was talking, their organist.
She played once a week.
No, she didn't. She was available for all funerals, all church services. And here's the thing, when you're available for funerals, person dies on Monday, you're there on Thursday. Whatever you had, she had to be there. Okay. And she was a former or a professionally trained musician.
See,
Nowadays, hang on.
okay, I'm listening.
Nowadays, we've got everybody picking up a guitar claiming to be a musician.
Oh, I can.
That
agree
is
with
not the case. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I think it depends upon how much a person is trained. If they've got a college degree in music versus somebody who's just picking up an instrument. All right. Pastors, do they have a master's? Do you require them to have a master's? Do you require them to have a doctorate of divinity? I mean, a doctorate of divinity is 10 years of college paid.
Oh, I know. I'm doing it.
Okay,
I can't,
no, you're getting your.
no, I'm not done yet. I know what I'm getting my bachelor's, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna go get my divinity. I'm looking to go
If
to.
you're looking at you're looking at 8 to 10 years.
I understand. I know what I'm looking
Why
at.
would you do that if you're only going to be paid 35 or 45,000?
As long as I never said 35 for I said my needs are met. I don't think $100,000 is needed. That's
Wait
let me ask
until
you- let me ask you a
get your
question.
College to
you're a pastor.
no, I'm not.
You are a father. You are an ordained father. I was there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am ordained.
You are as much a pastor as anyone else.
Okay, when you're saying pastor for our non-liturgical people, you're talking about the lead person of a church.
Okay.
I do not shepherd a church.
Right, but okay, you do shepherd. You do
I
shepherd.
shepherd a ministry.
Same
There
thing.
is a
A
difference.
church is a ministry. A church is a ministry.
Well, no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, Frady, they're different. My ministry doesn't tithe.
Correct.
My ministry doesn't.
Right, but that's
pay
my worry.
anything.
It's like when you have when you have, like, I don't know who this one. Like you're talking about the organist and that where
Right.
Look, I'm not saying like maybe I'm not saying if she wants to be available. Then in my personal humble opinion, when you have like you're paying a person an organist, great. I'm glad she's talented. I'm glad she was professional and all that. But when you're paying an organist just to be on wait for like a funeral or something, to me that becomes a business.
Okay, but let me explain something though. If you want an organist of that caliber, it is a business.
It shouldn't be. A church should not be a business. I know it has to operate like a business somewhat.
And
because
that way it has to operate because you would never get anybody
then
of her
why can't it-
caliber in your
why
church.
can't that organist could start her own business, and then people can pay that organist to come and do the funeral?
Huh? Because that's not the way the church had it structured, one. And two, they wanted an organist of her caliber. In other words, she's given a piece of music and said, "Can you play this for the funeral?" She plays it.
That's great.
Okay, well, you've got to find somebody who's trained who can do that. I couldn't.
I can't.
And I went to a college of music school.
It's hard for me to look at a church like a business.
Forget about. Yeah, I got that. But if who's handling the books at your church, if it's somebody that is just a secretary or a CPA, they should be paid in different ways.
Right. But like if the church is right, I get that you're outsourcing outsourcing a person.
She is a professional organist versus somebody who's not.
I disagree.
I know you do, because you don't appreciate
It's
how
not that
hard it is to find
It's
a
not that I don't-
professional organist.
It's not that I don't appreciate. If God if that's what net was meant to be, it would have happened. I mean, I know lots of people who donate their time and
Right,
church
but they are not of the caliber of that lady. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Frady. This is a woman who has won international awards in competitions. Okay, they wanted her, they got to pay for it, and that's what they did. That's where they chose to go with it.
I don't have to like it though.
Okay, no, you don't have to.
Right.
But now keep in mind, what we didn't know at the time was that she was paid for under bequeathments from people who died. It didn't come out of tithing.
Well, that's different. It's not coming in the church budget.
It was in the church budget. These bequeathments came into the church specifically for the organist.
Okay, see, now that I'll be okay with, because that was, people are putting money.
So you're saying out of tithing.
If people are giving specifically for that, that's what they want. That's different. The congregation has spoken. They are just like they pay.
Well, that had nothing to do with congregation. This was money that was given over 20, 30 years ago.
But that's, they put that, like, I know of every church I've ever been a part to, people give money, they want it to go towards this. That's what it went to, because that's the person's dying wishes. That is different. People are paying for that. That's their personal money to do what
Okay,
they want.
so how do you, again, we are getting right back to the same question. How are you go ahead. Folks, here's the deal. Where this all boils down to for me is, do you know your church's budget? When was the last time you took a look to see what's happening with your tithing? Okay. And that's because there are a lot of churches out there. If you take an interest in tithing, you'll find out that your church is not making enough to keep things going. If you look out there, there are many churches these days who are trying to keep their youth program alive, who's trying to keep their children program alive, who's trying to keep their nursery alive. All of that takes money. Have you looked at your budgets? When was the last time you took an active role in the operation of your church? Our number is 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. I got to give a little shout out to Worley's Home Services. Worley's Home Services has been a sponsor of our show for all the years that we've been on, over 6 years now. Chuck Worley and I were talking this evening, and he was telling me about the number of people listening to us out there who call every week. I got to tell you, Chuck is growing exponentially. He is a Christian businessman. His staff will not hesitate to pray with you if you need it, okay? He will not either. If you need to have your crawl space looked at, you need to get your electrical, your plumbing, your HVAC, give Worley's Home Services a call. His number, 757-356-4117. 757-356-4117. Vertorian, one of our regular people, called. We'll have his words for you next week. He had Worley's out there. Man, was he highly impressed with what happened. So don't listen just to me. Listen to Vertorian. Their number is 757-356-4117. Now, who was on the phone?
We'll talk about it off air.
Oh, it was different topic?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I just want to point out one thing to anyone who me and Real Tim love each other. We care for each other. We've known each other a very long time, and we're just debating. So if anyone thinks we're arguing, we are, yes, in a form or fashion.
Oh my gosh. If there's anybody out there who thinks we're really arguing with each other, yes, we're arguing in the Greek sense of the word.
I want anyone to understand that me and Brother Tim have known each other 15 years almost, 10?
No, 13.
13 years.
Don't carry it too far.
I'm just saying. And like, he got me the job here at the radio station. He offered me the position to be a co-host when he needed a co-host. So please just know me and Brother Tim definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Frady and I have been with each other since
I've worked at a food pantry.
Were ousted from our food pantry. He was one of the key people that got us at Olivet Church in 2013.
So if anyone thinks that's the whole premise of the show, is debate, have different opinions.
That's extremely. That's the whole, folks. When this show was created, it was with Joe Daniel, who was a younger Christian, a recent Christian. And he and I used to have major debates all the time. And that's why our entire focus of the show is to have thought-producing conversations. So if there was a caller who called up here who said, you two are we've missed the mark. What I want you to do is walk away from this saying, yes, Frady's got wait, Brother Tim had a I don't know. Honey, what do you think? We are here to have thought producing conversations, and they're not just for the sake of conversing, they're to inspire change. Hopefully, somebody out there is going to go to their church and say, hey, do we have a budget that I don't know about? Chances are you're be told to go to so and so who's that elder, and he'll make an appointment. And there's nothing wrong with him saying, yeah, let's schedule an appointment and we'll go through it together. Okay. I do not believe, and let me tell you, this is what happened with Joe Daniel and I. We went to a conference that a church, or not a conference, a concert that a church was sponsoring, and they had left their budget sitting on the edge of a windowsill.
Because I know what church it is. They did the same thing last time I was there for the station.
Stop.
Doing it's right there in the front, and
Yeah.
I respect that. I respect that because anyone that walked in that door,
Could
if they knew what
see-
if they knew what they were looking at, and they could see the church. So
I
I
get
res-
that.
I
but
respect any nonprofit that says this is our books and this is what
yeah, if they were there for that, but you're there for a concert, I would have kind of.
we're,
That's church membership information.
I just happened to notice that
And
last time I was
so
at that same church for a concert.
they can go ahead and say, listen, let's sit down and talk about this. So I have no problem with them asking to schedule an appointment to see it, but you should do that. And then our third topic is not only having inspiring conversations that create change in us, that change is to build the kingdom. Frady and I leave here better off than we were when the show started.
Facts.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening, hopefully we didn't offend. If we did,
Sorry.
we apologize. But for those of you who are listening, it is a topic for you to have with your pastors. Frady, what did you think? Maybe we could, you're going to tell me or save it for next week.
I was going to ask it. Yeah, it was when we could talk about it. I mean, now we don't have time now. We have like
Okay.
2.5 minutes.
Just curious.
It was, remember how I mentioned how someone came to me over the break
Mhm.
and asked me an important biblical question. The question they asked me, is it okay to be angry at God?
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
I
No,
tell people that all the
and,
time. You can holler at God, he can handle it.
yeah. And but it was a little different, I felt, because I didn't think this person, like, I felt like this person maybe clearly knew who God was. And I feel, but I feel like they walked away from God because they were angry. So I gave them and I just wanted to get the opinion of the callers. And
Yeah, it's okay to be angry at God. It's not okay to hold a
that's
grudge.
basically what I told them. I told them basically, and we could talk about maybe next week. Hopefully people can give us a call and tell me what you think. Or,
All right.
But yeah, I basically told them, like, do you get angry at your dad? I said, do you get angry at your dad or your mom? And they're like, well, yeah, of course. It's the same thing. God's supposed to be our father. So it's okay to get angry when something happens that you don't like. But right, like what, like I'm like, and then I asked them, did you walk away from God because of it? And they did. And that's where it's not okay.
That's not okay.
That
You're
when
right.
you start, when you're not living a life for Christ still, simply because like everyone's goes, look, anyone who thinks it's going to be easy to be a Christian, I got some bad news for you.
It's not.
It's not. That's never. It was. I mean, if you live a great life, wonderful. I'm happy for you. Again, if you're making money and you do it, and that's kind of back to our topic today. If you're living a good life and things are great, I'm happy. I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? But we were never promised a 100% pure and profit life.
I hate to tell you this, but there are many churches out there that would teach
I know.
you different.
And I don't care who gets mad at me. They're wrong.
Okay.
We got to go though.
I'll talk to you all later. Be good, behave, be blessed.